3,000 more? I could hear my own voice wobble as the words left me. Richard lounged across from me like a monarch in a worn recliner, arms folded, chin lifted, already bored with my hesitation. "I need a new car," he said, crisp and cold. "The old one's done." "You've got the cash, what's the problem?" There it was again, the casual entitlement. The assumption that my wallet was a bottomless well and my patience an eternal spring. My chest tightened. "The problem," I answered, "is that I'm already paying for everything. Mortgage, utilities, food, and I cleared Adam's cards last month. I'm not buying you a car." His eyes flashed. "I deserve it. I've done enough for this family. It's time you carried your weight." Those 4 words, carry your weight, landed like a slap. For 4 years, I'd been the quiet engine keeping this house running while my husband, Adam, treated my paycheck like a tap that never shut off. And his father treated me like the household finance department. The one time I drew a line, I became the villain. I'm not doing it. I said it steady, because if I didn't, the courage might leak out between my ribs. His mouth curled. "You're just like your mother, walking around like you're better than the rest of us." He surged to his feet. "Don't you dare disrespect me in my own house." "My house," I said, and the tremor finally crept into my voice. "Paid for with my money in my name because neither of you could qualify." The shove came fast, palms, hard, a sudden rush of air. The world tilted. Wood against spine, the ugly, rattling thud of a body meeting steps. I landed twisted and breathless, pain shooting down my arm, the ceiling swimming in and out. For a long second, all I could hear was the roar in my ears and the metronome of the clock on the wall. Richard stood at the top of the staircase, face pinched and furious. "That's what happens when you don't show respect," he snapped, and disappeared back into the living room. Footsteps. Adam. I waited for the panic, the concern, anything. He stared down with the bored detachment of a man watching the weather. "You should have just given him the money, Maya. You know how he gets." That was the moment something inside me finally clicked, a soft final latch. I thought I'd married a partner, and somehow I'd adopted a grown man and his father instead. My name is Maya. For 4 years, I have been the financial spine of a household that never once learned to stand on its own. When Richard's health dipped, I moved us into his place because family helps family, right? Only help quietly became fund, and for now turned into forever. Groceries, me. Mortgage, me. Utilities, me. Emergencies, me. Richard's personal odds and ends, me. Adam's work ethic. Mysteriously on hold, so he could be there for his dad, which looked a lot like daytime TV and endless naps. I kept telling myself it was temporary, a season. That they appreciated me, just privately. That they'd catch their breath and carry their corner of the load again. But lying on the cold floor at the base of those stairs, I finally admitted what I didn't want to name. This wasn't a family. It was a drain, and I was the reservoir they refused to stop drinking from. I got up shaky, cradling my arm, and walked. No dramatic speeches, no pleas. I packed a bag, slid my keys off the hook, and stepped into the night. Fear pounded alongside the determination in my chest, 2 fists on the same door. I didn't know exactly where I was headed, just that it was away from here. The motel room smelled like lemon cleaner and old air. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my phone, the weight of everything pressing down. I'd been their constant, their net, their certainty. Without me, they'd wobble. Without me, they might fall. I wasn't going to catch them. Dawn bled into the thin curtains. I picked up the phone and dialed a number I'd Googled in the quiet hours. "Angela, I need help," I said when the line clicked alive. "It's about my husband and his father." Her office felt like oxygen. Framed diplomas, a plant that had not given up, a pen that clicked in satisfying, decisive little beats. I told her everything, the bills, the receipts, the just this once that had turned into always. The demand for a car. The fall. The bruise blooming along my arm like a storm cloud moving across a map. You've been supporting both of them. Entirely? She asked, brows climbing. All of it, I said. For 4 years. And the house? She flipped a page. Whose name is on the deed? Mine, I said, letting the word stand, solid and true. They couldn't get the loan. I pay for it. I own it, a small knowing smile. Then it's your house, Maya, not theirs. She slid a legal pad toward me. We start by removing them, formally. Eviction for both. And we address the assault, financial exploitation, emotional distress. You don't just get to leave. You get to be heard. The word heard cracked something open. I hadn't realized how long I'd been whispering. Guilt pricked anyway. Because that's what it does when you've been trained to carry other people's comfort as your responsibility. Evict my husband? Evict his father? It sounded brutal. It also sounded like the only path out that didn't loop me back to the same front door. We'll need evidence, Angela said. Bank statements, receipts, messages that show the pattern. And we should document the stair incident. This is about money, yes, but it's also about safety. Safety. The syllables landed heavier than I expected. I had been budgeting danger for years, moving the goalposts of what counted as not that bad. Suddenly, safe felt like a brand new category I was allowed to chase, so I started building the case, and a new life at the same time. Quietly. Methodically. I found a small apartment near work and began ferrying boxes there at night. I changed the route I took to the office. I learned which coworkers asked open questions and which ones treated curiosity like gossip. Just busy, I'd say, when someone noticed the shadows under my eyes. Back at Richard's, I practiced invisibility. Adam nested into the couch like an inhabitant returning to an old burrow. Richard sulked, bristled, brayed, still furious that I'd refused to be his dealership on demand. Every conversation felt like walking a rope, no net and a heckler below. But my balance was better now. My grip was stronger. My eyes were on the far platform. Angela worked while I worked. Paper trails, timelines, charts that made the slow bleed visible. When we laid it all out on her desk, a map of years, neat and undeniable, I felt parts of my brain go quiet. The gaslight had flickered for so long that the room's true color almost startled me. Tens of thousands funneled into a household where I was treated as if I should be grateful for the privilege. We prepared the papers. Eviction, 30 days to vacate. Civil suit for damages, assault, exploitation, distress. They won't like it, Angela warned. Backlash is common, but the law is the law. I'm ready, I said. And to my surprise, I meant it. Nights in the new apartment, I rehearsed the moment in my mind. The doorbell. The crisp envelope. Shock breaking across Richard's face. Adam running out of scripts. The last time I'd stood in that doorway, I'd been the quiet solution. The next time, I would be the consequence. If you've been here, if you know the feeling of buying peace with pieces of yourself, hit that like button. It helps more people find stories like this. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done at the top of those stairs? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. New chapters every week. The day finally came. Angela tucked the papers neatly into her folder as we pulled up the driveway. My palms sweated against the steering wheel, my heart punching a steady rhythm against my ribs. Richard answered the door, his face curdled into a sneer the moment he saw me. What do you want now? Angela's voice was firm, even, like a gavel. Mr. Williams, you've been served. You and your son have 30 days to vacate this property. Additionally, my client is filing a civil lawsuit for assault and financial exploitation. For a moment, silence. Then Richard barked a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. He snatched the papers, skimmed them, and his skin flushed the color of an angry storm. You can't do this. This is my house. I stepped forward, my voice steady in a way I hadn't heard it before. No, Richard. It's mine. Paid for with my money, in my name. And you're done bleeding me dry. Adam shuffled into view, rubbing his eyes like he'd just woken up. What's going on? Your wife thinks she can throw us out. Richard shoved the papers into Adam's hands. Adam scanned the words, his jaw tightening. Maya, this is insane. You can't just... I can. And I did. I locked eyes with him, refusing to flinch. For once, they both had nothing to say. Shock carved deep lines into Richard's face, and Adam's indifference cracked, panic slipping through. For years they'd leaned on me, confident I'd always cave. But this time there was no undoing it. Angela touched my elbow. They've been served. Let's go! We walked back to the car while Richard's furious shouting echoed behind us. For the first time in years, the air around me felt lighter, but it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Inside the house, the tension shifted from entitlement to desperation. Richard raged, pacing, veins standing out like ropes on his neck. Adam, usually content to ignore conflict, snapped back at him in low, frantic bursts. I could imagine it clearly. The fortress they'd built on my shoulders was crumbling, and neither knew how to stop the collapse. Meanwhile, Angela and I built the rest of the case. Every receipt, every bank transfer, every text where they demanded more. Seeing the evidence stacked neatly on her desk was like watching years of gaslighting go up in smoke. It wasn't in my head. It wasn't an overreaction. It was exploitation. Black and white, undeniable. Angela pressed gently. And the stairs incident. You'll need to document it. Pictures, medical report. This isn't just financial. It's physical. It's abusive. Her words dug deep. For years, I'd brushed off moments of danger as just tension, just stress. But now, with my arm still aching and the memory of tumbling down those steps etched into my body, I saw it clearly. I hadn't just been supporting them. I'd been surviving them, so I took photos of the bruises. I filed the report, and I promised myself that this case wasn't just about reclaiming money or property. It was about reclaiming me. Each night in my quiet apartment, I pictured the final confrontation. Not with fear, but with anticipation. The look on Richard's face when the sheriff stood in my doorway. The way Adam would fumble when excuses finally failed him. They thought I was weak because I stayed. They had no idea how strong I'd become by leaving. If you're still with me, drop a comment. Would you have walked away sooner, or stayed like I did until the breaking point? And if you're enjoying this story, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. The morning the sheriff arrived, I sat in my car across the street watching. Angela had insisted she be there when the eviction order was enforced. She stood tall on the porch, her folder tucked neatly under one arm, her presence as unshakable as stone. Richard opened the door first. Even from where I sat, I could see the anger ripple across his face when he spotted her. "This is ridiculous," he shouted, fists balled at his sides. "You can't do this. This is my house." Angela didn't so much as blink. "Legally, it belongs to my client. You've had your 30-day notice. Refusal to leave will result in further legal action. The sheriff is here to ensure compliance." Adam stumbled into the doorway behind his father, clutching a half-packed duffel bag. His eyes flicked to me across the street, wide and confused. "Maya, why are you doing this?" "We're family." That word, family, struck me like a rusty blade. For years, they'd used it as a weapon. Family to them meant I was their endless bank account, their buffer, their punching bag. My voice was steady when I stepped out of the car. Family doesn't push you down the stairs. Family doesn't drain your bank account and call it loyalty. This house is mine. My life is mine, and I'm taking both back. For once, Adam had no slick reply. His gaze dropped, his shoulders slumped, and he trudged down the driveway. Behind him, Richard's roar filled the air, but the officers stood firm, escorting him inside to pack his things. I should have felt fear. Instead, I felt lighter, like I'd just set down a weight I'd carried so long I'd forgotten what freedom felt like. The weeks that followed were a blur of cleaning, paperwork, and healing. I changed the locks, scrubbed the walls, erased every trace of their presence. Friends dropped by with coffee and encouragement. "You're amazing for standing up for yourself," one said. And for the first time in years, I believed it. The lawsuit moved forward. The judge ordered Richard to pay damages: financial exploitation, assault, emotional distress. Whether he ever actually paid wasn't the point. The ruling was, it was a legal acknowledgement of everything I'd endured. Proof that my story mattered. I sold the house not long after. Closing that door for the last time, I didn't feel grief. I felt release. I wasn't losing anything. I was gaining myself. A few months later, my life looked nothing like the one I'd been trapped in. My new apartment was small but bright, filled with plants, laughter, and silence that I chose. I took up yoga. I started painting again. I planned a trip to the coast, something I'd always dreamed of but never allowed myself to do. One evening, sitting on my balcony with a glass of wine, I thought about everything: the bills, the shouting, the stares. The moment Adam said I should have just given him the money, and I realized walking away hadn't been giving up. It had been the bravest thing I'd ever done. Richard and Adam had tried to make me feel small. But in the end, their betrayal became the spark that made me stronger. This wasn't just the end of their chapter in my life, it was the beginning of mine. So here I am, free, whole, and finally, living on my terms. If this story hit home for you, give it a like. It really helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of betrayal, revenge, and powerful comebacks. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my shoes?